Okay, it's 11:01. I see. Why am I not? Is everybody not muted? Is that the deal? Weird. Okay, good morning. My name is Kathy Kokis. I'm with Kitsap Economic Development Alliance, and I will let my two colleagues introduce themselves.
I'm Teresa Mangra, also with the Kitsap Economic Development Alliance.
And I'm Susan Beach with KEDA. Yes.
So this is the team at KEDA that will be reviewing the applications as they come in. And more importantly, Susan is the person who will be writing your checks. So we have a system down. We've been doing something similar for the state. So we think it should be smooth sailing once it gets going next Tuesday at noon. We do ask that if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll all be looking out for that. I see a question already. Does this cover CAM charges maintenance? And you mean that as part of your rent, as your triple net?
They own the building.
So we cannot reimburse per the criteria set up for mortgages. We can only reimburse for rents and leases of commercial space to a landlord. Keep pushing things through though, because we will, as I noted, continue to answer those questions. Christy, if you have a question, please put it in the chat.
And I believe everyone can unmute themselves if they do have a question, if there's a follow-up needed.
Okay, because Christy has her hand up and it's not allowing me to tell her to unmute. So Christy, can you say anything? Huh. Never seen it look like this before. Okay, so if you received an EIDL, unfortunately, you are not eligible. Someone asked if they had received an EIDL. So let's get started.
But let's note here, before we go on, that this is the Kitsap County CARES program, and the individual cities all have CARES funds that they've received. So if you are within the city limits, if your business has a Holsbo, Bainbridge, Bremerton, or Port Orchard address, their rules will be different. So they will each have, at least we believe, we know City of Port Orchard and City of Bremerton are working on their CARES small business rental relief grants, and they do not have across the board criteria. It's up to each jurisdiction to set their own rules, essentially. So what we're talking about today is for Kitsap County, but next week we'll be talking about City of Port Orchard. So, and once we figure out what the exact criteria is for Bremerton, we'll have a webinar for that one as well.
Correct.
I'd like to speak to Kathleen Gordon. She has a question here about not having success getting the 4-digit location code and what is the secret. So is it okay if I go ahead and say something about that?
Well, we're actually going to cover that in a slide.
All right.
Minimum number, yeah. So a lot of these questions are covered, and we'll just keep track to make sure we point them out.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason EIDL or PPP that was used for rent are not eligible is because the government doesn't allow double dipping. So let's go. Thank you all for coming today. So the county has committed up to $880,000 for small business assistance using that federal CARES funding that Teresa mentioned earlier. And the intent is to reimburse for business-related commercial rent or lease. So you must be in a lease or rental agreement with a commercial space. $750,000 will go to businesses in unincorporated Kitsap County, and then $130,000 will also go to some in the incorporated cities. And as noted here, and as Teresa mentioned earlier, they also have CARES funds, but at a much lower level than the county did. Successful applicants can receive up to $5,000 based on your impacts and the reimbursement. So it's not a guaranteed 5,000, it's up to 5,000. And per their agreement with the state, the funds must be distributed by October 31st of this year. So it's a 3-phased process. Phase 1 starts Tuesday at noon. We'll be showing you that portal shortly. And that is for unincorporated Kitsap County only. So if you are inside an incorporated city with your business, you are not eligible to apply until phase 3, August 11th. And then once those have been processed, we will have the second phase of the unincorporated county businesses August 4th. Teresa, are there any questions we need to address yet regarding this part?
Yeah, I have covered a couple of them in the chat. So one question. So today is about if our business is in Poulsbo city limits. Yes, no. Today's presentation is for Kitsap County. It's not specifically about the cities. There will be funds for the city of Poulsbo and for all the cities within this grant, $130,000 specifically for businesses located in those incorporated cities. But there's additional funds that each of those cities will also have that are separate from this. Does that make sense?
Can you apply for both phases? You can, if you apply for phase 1 and are not successful, then you may apply again for phase 2. If you apply for phase 1 and are successful, you are not eligible to apply again. So what we're doing today is to encourage you strongly to do all your homework and to be ready when the application portal opens, because the county's criteria is first come, first served that meet the criteria and have uploaded all the documentation. And as I noted before, if you are not successful in the first phase, you may reapply in phase 2. If you are in one of the city limits of Bainbridge, Poulsbo, Bremerton, or Port Orchard, under the county program, you may only apply during phase 3. And those in unincorporated Kitsap County may not apply in phase 3. If there are excess funds from either the first or second phase or the third phase, the county will then create a fourth phase. I highly doubt that would happen, but that is in place should we need it.
Okay, a couple of people that came in late. Let's just reiterate. There's a question. I'm not clear on when I should apply. So hopefully, this webinar will be posted online, by the way, and you will be able to review the whole thing. But this particular person, Richard DeMille, is on Bainbridge. You can apply in phase 3, but you should also check with the city of Bainbridge because they may have a whole different process. And I see Irene Moyer from the Poulsbo Chamber is saying they're working on theirs and they will be publishing and sharing information soon.
And then Julie says she's in Poulsbo and she needs to know if she has to have 3 employees. We don't know that answer. And as Irene noted from the Postal Chamber, they will be publishing their criteria and guidelines soon. So hopefully you will qualify, but I have no insight on that. And we're very thankful for our partners, the Chamber, assisting and being here today to help answer those questions.
As far as phase 3, though, if they're in the incorporated city, they do have to have at least 3 employees, and one of them cannot be the owner. Yes.
Correct. For the counties, but we don't know what the city's going to say.
That's just the phase 3 portion of that.
Yeah. You know, we're all doing everything we can because it's government money apparently to make it as difficult as possible because that's what government funding does.
Okay, so I think we're getting a lot of questions, but I think we should probably, we're going to cover a lot of these questions as we move through the slides.
I do see the one, the sole prop, single employee business. If that single, no, because you have to have at least 3. So for the county funds. Eligibility, you must be active and licensed in Washington State, and you must have a physical business license, business address in Kitsap County. In this particular program, 501c3 nonprofits are eligible, but again, they do have to have the same employee requirement of between 3 and 15, not including the owner. And when we go into the website, we have more details on what calculates a full-time. So you could have perhaps 20 employees, but they're not all full-time and still meet the requirements. Correct, Susan?
Right. That would be the full-time equivalent evaluations that all of the other COVID funds have had to go by, dividing the number of full-time hours by the number of people you have and coming up with an equivalence. And that's it on the website.
Yeah. Only one award per business or franchise holder, not per location. And you have to have been in business in Washington since July 20th, 2018. That is a 2-year window. Again, this is criteria that was provided to us.
I see a question about employees that are on commission. If they are 1099 employees, then that doesn't qualify because they can apply on their own as a, as if they have multiple employees under their 1099. So it has to be actual employees of the organization. That was a question that was
Teresa,
from Sharon.
We have 4 facilities, 3 on Bainbridge and 1 in Kingston.
Yeah, that's tricky.
Our official, so where's the corporate headquarters? That would be my question.
I'll watch for an answer on that.
Okay, so again, continuing with eligibility, you need to demonstrate a minimum $5,000 impact loss of income due to COVID or the governor's related orders, such as having to shut down. Gross revenues not to exceed 1.5 million per year. So the goal here is to help small businesses in Kitsap. Again, you have not received an EIDL loan or grant and or the Working Washington Small Business Emergency Grant, which we rolled out in April, and the awards were known in June, correct? June? And then the PPP funds are okay, but no double dipping, which means you cannot seek rent reimbursement under PPP loans if for the same time period, because the government does not like the double dipping thing. If you cannot use federal funds twice for the same purpose is what they're saying.
So we just had a question from Carrie that dealt with that question about receiving the PPP loan. So just to reiterate what Kathy just said, the PPP is okay. EIDL, Working Washington, not okay. PPP though, you can't double dip. Can't use it for rent on the PPP and on a CARES grant.
Okay, and Diana they don't have a main facility. Okay, Diana, we may need to connect offline. Do you want to put our email addresses up there?
They're on the last slide, but
Oh, that's
yes.
correct. So yeah, we're sorry it's so confusing, but we work with government contracting quite a bit, and you can never use federal funds to pay federal funds or to match federal funds. So as I noted up front, it's going to be critical that you are ready. That's why we felt it important to have this today. It's first come, first served who have a complete and eligible application. So I just want to make that clear. You may be number 10, but if you only have 2 employees, you are not eligible. You could be number 37 and make more than 1.5 million. You are not eligible. So when we say it's the first come, first served, it's those that meet the criteria and have a complete application.
Yes, the PowerPoint will be posted online, and so will the recording.
So we're going to strongly encourage you to go to this website. Teresa, do you want me to stop sharing?
If you release the share, then I'll share.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Is that showing now?
Yeah, we did have a nice black screen, but it's there now.
Well, good. So this is kitsapcaresmallbiz.com, and I want you to be aware of the fact that we are going to be reorganizing this website to include information for the other cities that we're working with. So this is going to look a little different possibly next week, but it will have, if I do that, it'll have a Kitsap tab, a Bremerton tab, and a Poulsbo tab up here instead of these. But this has basically an overview. It has these buttons down here. This is what that one was to register you for this webinar, but this one is the application program overview. We're going to go through all of those questions in quite a bit of detail momentarily, but if you download that, you're going to get this document, which is an overview. Here's a checklist of everything you need to have to prepare to apply. And this is a sample of what that application will look like. It is a sample only. You cannot fill this out and send it to us. You have to use the online portal. So should we do the, no, it's in the PowerPoint. Never, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop talking about that. I'm gonna stop sharing too and give you back the screen, Kathy. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we have links for the DOR lookup for your sales tax, yes, and lookup for your W-9 form.
And Susan wanted to mention something.
I wanted to mention under the eligibility for the rent that you're paying for this particular set of funds, you cannot own the building that you're paying rent to, even if it's in another company. If you set up a separate company to pay rent that owns your buildings and you're renting from yourself, those funds do not qualify for, that rent doesn't qualify for these funds. It can't have common ownership. So, would you like me to talk a little bit about the 4-digit code just for a moment?
Well, we're good. We're coming to that slide real quick.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No worries. So again, we strongly encourage you to go to the website, kitsapcaresmallbiz.com, and download this program overview with the checklist and the sample questionnaire so that you can start gathering all the information. And one reason we have it starting at noon on Tuesday versus Monday morning is to give you time to get this information. So here is the information in a little easier to read format. So you're going to have your state UBI, your Unified Business Identifier, which tells us and the county that you have a business license, that we need an IRS W-9 form. This link will take you straight to the IRS website with a fillable PDF. Once you fill that out, save it as, my company W9.pdf and put that in a folder on your desktop somewhere that will be easy to find, because you will be asked to upload that on the online application. So the Washington 4-digit location code, Susan, here you go.
Okay. So when you go to the Department of Revenue website, if you go to tax,
Just click on it, Kathy.
Is it showing?
not yet, no.
Stop share, sorry. Share.
How many screens do you have open? I see I have way too many.
It's sharing now?
Not yet.
There's a lag, but not yet. It's changing. Okay, there we go.
There we go. So
Okay.
on this tax rate lookup screen, you put in your street address. And yeah, there we go. And in the city, because the main thing is that just because you have an address in Paulsbo, Bremerton, Port Orchard, Bainbridge Island, or any of those places, that doesn't mean that you're in the incorporated city. You'll see when you push search on here and you come down below, there's a location code that shows that the offices for KEDA on 2021 Northwest Myrene Silverdale is in unincorporated Kitsap County, 1800. For the first two phases of this loan, 1800 is the code you have to have in order to qualify. For the third phase, then it will be a different code depending on the city that you're in. And so this tells you where your address lies and whether or not you qualify at this time. So that is where you're going to find the code.
And it's the sales.
The sales tax code, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
there.
it's the sales tax code, location code, because that's wherever you're paying your sales tax for your business location. For instance, what she just put in is 1802 is Port Orchard. So if it's 1802, you're in the incorporated portion of Port Orchard. It's not just if that's a city that's in your address. It's if this code comes up as 1802. So that's where you find it, and it's just follow that link that we have, and it'll take you right to Department of Revenue location, and it's a very useful tool.
Okay.
All right.
Question here, does rent include base rent only or NNN?
With the triple net?
Yeah, triple net.
It does include the triple net.
I would think so. We didn't ever.
I think so. I think so too. I know we did it that way for the Working Washington.
Okay, well, if it worked for Working Washington, I say it works for this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if someone from the county is on the line and wants to clarify, we'd be happy to take that info.
Well, and let's just remember, you will get there, but this business right down here, determining eligible COVID-19 impacts, you're going to be comparing your gross revenue for Q2 2019 and Q2 2020. If you can demonstrate up to $5,000 loss of revenue based on those figures, you can get that's what you'll be eligible to. So I'm imagining that for most people, getting to $5,000 worth of rent within the time frame, which is March to the date that you're funded, or the date you apply rather, won't be hard to do, even if it doesn't include the triple net. EDG. Somebody asked, is EIDG the same as EIDL? I assume that the G is
That's the grant, yeah.
and it does. That's the same. It's the grant or the loan.
Okay, so again,
Yeah, okay, do you see Kathleen's question there? What is the gross revenue? Is that last year or this year to date? So it's Q2. Compare Q2 to Q2.
gross revenue.
I apologize.
That would be 2019 per year. So that's annual. So you don't have an annual for 2020 yet. So that's, you couldn't have exceeded 1.5 million in 2019. And then we're going to determine your impact, compare Q2 versus 2019 and 2020 of gross revenue.
We'll clarify that on this PowerPoint before I publish it and anywhere else.
Okay. Then we're going to ask you about your business structure. Because you're set up a certain way. It's not going to impact your eligibility. It's just a information point. Again, we'll be asking what date your business opened, and you have to have been in business for 2 years. July 15th, 2018 or before you need to have opened. Again, here is more detail about calculating that full-time equivalent if you have several part-time employees.
And Susan can answer any questions about that if anyone has any particular questions. Nope, not seeing any.
Okay. And then we will also need you to upload. So this is the second upload we're requesting. The first was the W-9. We're also going to be requesting your rent or lease documentation. You must provide your rent or lease agreement and documents supporting your monthly payment. The dates that are covered are March 1st of this year, when impact started, to whenever you apply for this grant. So this is 2 things, your commercial agreement and then your invoices. If you don't have invoices, then we are asking for a memo from your landlord. And then again, as I asked you to do for the W-9, please name each document, such as Business ABC lease, Business ABC rent April 2020. Please upload those as PDFs, no JPEGs, please.
And we'll demonstrate how to do that on the Cognito form. It's very simple. And we could pop over and do that now if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, so.
Stop share.
Oops, so I need.
Elisa, you're asking if there's funds left over because of all the people being approved for EIDL. Could they change to allow EIDL as well? I think that would be a determination that they're going to want to weigh against perhaps the state or the SBA or some other federal source, because it's a federal funding, matching federal funding.
Okay, is the Cognito form showing?
Yep.
Okay, so this is a preview of what you will be doing online beginning next Tuesday at noon. And so here's the W-9, and you can see it's just a drag over, and I'm sure you've all probably done something like this a million times. But if you have your files in a folder, then you're just going to grab it and pull it right on over, and it's as simple as that. So that is what we're going to ask you to do. I ran through this yesterday, this form, and It's really easy. That's where you're going to enter your DOR code. But it's been checked for any glitches, so I think it'll go well. So I'm going to stop share now.
Okay. Sorry, moving stuff from monitor to monitor. Okay, so to be ready to apply, do your homework. So go back to our checklist, download that piece of paper and start marking everything off. We recommend that you start a Word document and start putting all that stuff in there so you can just copy and paste it into the online form. So then you can do it quickly. You don't have to be nervous about mistyping because you want to, make sure you're in that, first 75 completed and eligible applications. So that is our recommendation, that you have all this information ready to go. Again, prepare those documents to upload. Please make them a PDF, and most things will allow you to print as a PDF. I know mine does. So it's fairly easy to do. And then, yes, prepare in Word. It's also, I think, helpful for the people just checking for the criteria to know a bit more about your company, especially if the name is a little vague or general. And please tell us comments about your revenue impact as well. The portal does open Tuesday, June 21st at noon. And the URL is where, Teresa? Is it on here?
It's on the website. It's on the Kitsap Cares website. It's not an easy URL.
No, I'm not going to say it out loud because it's really hard. It's through Cognito. And we will close down the portal when we have reached the number of eligible and complete applications. So I apologize that we can't give you in advance when we think the portal will close.
Yeah, and bear in mind, it'll take us a little time to verify. But what I suspect we'll do is the first round is 75 eligible. We'll probably stop it at like 150 and then verify that of those 150, we have 75 that meet the criteria and are completely, that they have applied with all of the requirements.
Yeah, complete and eligible.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, keep your information, because if you are not successful the first time, then there is the phase 2 weeks later.
Now, I haven't done it, but I bet you can download a copy of it. Download a copy and print out your application.
Mm-hmm. I think you can.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then just so be ready, get everything done, be ready to cut and paste, have those PDF files ready to upload. You will be asked to sign a contract with KEDA on the county's behalf. And as I noted at the top, we do have to have these funds distributed by October 31st. And we're going to guess that most people will be anxious to get the funding, so we don't see that being a challenge. There are other opportunities coming, as Teresa mentioned at the top. Port Orchard Cares we have a webinar for them next Friday. This is only for those in Port Orchard city limits. They will have a bit of a different criteria. It's up to 5,000. The notable differences are up to 15 employees, no stipulations, and applications will be reviewed by a committee, and weighting criteria is still being finalized.
Mhm. And some
And
of
Teresa will
some
be
of
updating.
them, I'm not sure, but they may allow you to have an idle grant. There was a question from Kathleen, and she asked a couple times. Sorry, we missed it. FTE is based on the time of application, not January. So
No.
when you apply,
I said it on one of the slides. It said that it was January 15th. As of January 15th, if they had 3 employees on one of the slides.
Oh, so if they lost employees, they're not going to lose eligibility because they had to let people go because of COVID. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, so I answered that based on the slide that we had.
I will go back and check that,
Okay.
make sure and clarify it before I publish it.
Okay. So again, Teresa will be updating the kitsapcaresmallbiz.com website to include the Port Orchard criteria. Poulsbo and Bainbridge Island, if you are in those city limits, please check with your chambers of commerce there. I know both cities are working on providing relief for those businesses there. And then we also hope to announce details for Bremerton program in the next week or so. And we're also learning that with the state CARES funding, they will also have a new round of grants. However, the criteria may be different from the initial process, which was using state funds, versus this, which is using federal funds.
And we had a question, if my business is in Bremerton, should I hold off applying until I see about the Bremerton CARES program? I am not eligible for this one. So you are eligible for this one in phase 3. So that's the August 11th date for the city of Bremerton, or excuse me, for incorporated cities in this program. However, City of Bremerton is also going to be offering funds separate from this. You could apply for both, you just couldn't get both.
You could apply for both if you qualify for both.
Yes, yes, knowing that criteria will be different. And you may find out about this one. If you apply in phase 3 as an incorporated city for the county CARES funds, you will probably know that you got it before you know about the Bremerton one, because I think they're going to use a different screening tool, that they are going to review each application, not just do first come, first served.
Yeah, because we know Port Orchard will have a 5-day window for applications because they will be reviewed. It's not first come, first served. And we are waiting on the final details from Bremerton on how they will do that and what their timeline is. I see someone came in late, a UBI. So that is the number. Do they all start with 600 or 601, Susan?
Typically, yes.
Yeah. So that is the number you get from Washington State with your business license. It's 9 digits, 3-3 more digits, -3 more digits. And it typically starts with 600 or 601.
It's the number that you were given when you registered your business with the state. And when you file your state Department of Revenue taxes, your UBI number is the identifier that goes along with that. So that helps you find which one it is. It's not your federal tax ID number. That's a whole different number. But this is, like Kathy said, the 3 sets of 3 numbers, and they start with 601.
Did anyone answer Elisa's question? She asked if, regarding idle, if the funds were approved but never taken, does this disqualify us? I'd say no. I mean, no. If you didn't get any money from them.
Yeah, no. If you didn't take the money, then no.
Now, is it concerning the loan or the grant funds? Because if you receive the grant funds, that counts. You have the option of receiving the extended loan afterwards. That's kind of a different set of
Yeah.
questions. But if you received even the idle grant, not just the loan, then that does disqualify you. There was another question that was on here about whether or not if you received the PPP loan and you did not apply it towards rent, does that count as part of your income for second quarter if you received it during second quarter? According to what I can find online, the PPP loan is not taxable at this time, so it would not be reported on your state Department of Revenue form. So I would use that same criteria for this. If it was your earned revenue, then it counts. If it was from the PPP, but it was not for rent, then I wouldn't include it in your revenue, because that's a supplement, not a, you know, it shows the
It's
impact.
not income in the same way.
It's not earned income. It's a grant. So that would be my take on that. If we find any further clarification on that, I'll send something out to you. But as of my understanding right now, it's not counted as part of your income when you're trying to show that you have at least a $5,000 impact from COVID.
If there's any questions that we didn't answer, and I apologize, I'm not sure why we can't allow you to unmute yourselves. Checking to see. So if you asked a question and we haven't answered it, please enter it again so we can see it down here. We don't want to miss anyone.
Yes. So the important takeaways, you know, go to Kitsap Care Small Biz right now and, you know, download that checklist, start gathering that data, start creating your Word document so you can cut and paste when it's your phased application period. If you don't have a lease agreement, contact your landlord today to get that memo from them so that will count in lieu of the lease agreement. And if you do still have questions, there are our emails and we check them all the time. So we will get back to you. And if we do have to find, you know, an answer, we'll let you know that as well. We're not going to make something up on the spot. And again, PPP, it's only
No, QuickBook Report will not work for rent.
When someone had a question about the nonprofits, that it's only 501c3s. That is correct.
Yeah, I think
Only
Susan got that.
501c3s.
Yeah.
I mean, your QuickBook report would be backup documentation, but it's not the criteria that was set out.
All right. I'm working from a co-working space and don't have a lease agreement. Oh,
But you're paying rent for your co-working, right? I mean, it's a membership, but it's basically you're renting your space there. So I would get something from, you know, the manager's owners noting that your monthly payment is X.
so the question about the lease agreement being 20 pages long, do I need to download the entire contract? Well, I guess you could, but you could also just do like the front page and then the part that pertains to the amount if it's on a separate page. I think we just need the highlights.
Yeah, and if the county folks want more, then we'll just come back to you if you qualify, because we've had to do that for the state.
Yeah.
So basically what we're looking for initially is what, you know, makes you eligible and complete.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that if you get a memo from your landlord and it states that company XYZ rents is in a contract with me for this facility for so many dollars a month, and they have paid me for, April, May, June, July of 2020. I think if you get a memo from your landlord and it covers all of that, that would probably be okay too. We just needed a documentation about your actual rent obligations and payments. What if you're an S Corp?
S Corp S Corps are different than the nonprofits. The only thing that the 501c3, C6 questions are is if you're a nonprofit. If you're an S corporation, you're not a nonprofit and you qualify as long as you meet the other employee requirements without the owner being included in the number of employees. But S Corps, C Corps, sole proprietorships, LLCs, partnerships, those all qualify because they're all for-profit businesses as long as you meet the other criteria.
So did we fully answer the co-working question? She responded that yes, she does pay rent. So if you have some sort of invoice from them that demonstrates that, that would be sufficient.
We can clarify with the county regarding co-working because, we have several in the county. So
we do. I wonder whether or not they would.
Mm-hmm. Did you see?
Yeah, I do. I know it's a membership, but
oh, thank you for clarifying that, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, membership fees are not the same as rental fees. And it depends on how it's delineated in your contract.
All right. Can I include CAM also?
Yeah, that's the CAM, triple net. We talked
Same
about
thing.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think there are questions or tootling down. Now one more. Do we have one more slide? No, that was it. You've already covered the Port Orchard and the upcoming details. Okay.
And Teresa will have more details on the other programs as we get them. We are not administering the PulseBow one, but once we get details, we'll be happy to post a link to that information.
Likewise, Bainbridge.
As well as Bainbridge, because our goal is to help you find the information as easily as possible. We will be administering the county, the additional state, Bremerton, and Port Orchard. So all the details will be on this website, but PulseBow and Bainbridge, we will be linking you out. For now, I would encourage you, if you're in PulseBow city limits or on Bainbridge Island, to contact their chambers. And I'll apologize to Mickey, Kevin, Irene, and Kathy now.
Okay.
But we appreciate their partnership in all that's been going on during this stressful time for small business. The chambers have been really part of the solution, and we appreciate that.
And just a reminder, we have our we've switched from a weekly webinar now to a monthly webinar for our small business survival info updates. And on Thursday of this coming week, we will be revisiting Reopening in a Brave New World, Part 2. So it seems to be a moving target.
And I will say that for those that have a lot of client or customer interaction, like retail, medical, restaurant, food service, we do still have some of those FEMA provided no-touch thermometers available. And there is a link on our website. It's been in our newsletters, and each Kitsap County chamber has an allocation. So you can call your chamber to inquire more about that as well, because they're not all gone yet, and we want to make sure they're in the hands of the folks who need to, protect their customers and their employees. So, any other questions? Will we send the link out to this recording? Sure.
Oh, I'll be, yeah, I can do that. It takes a little while to upload. We download it and then we upload it and blah, blah. But as soon as it's ready, we'll do that.
Okay.
Um,
The link will be on kitsapcaresmallbiz.com, as well as the kitsapeda.org websites, and on the KEDA YouTube channel.
all right. Okay. So you got our emails. Give us I'll be sure and put Kitsap Cares in the subject line. The email inboxes are kind of scary these days. So we want to make sure that we easily identify you. So, all right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. Talk to you on the other side.
All right.